All right, can everybody see that?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, let me get it. All right, if you have any questions while we're going through this, please feel free to write them in the chat or jot them down, and we'll be sure to address them after we wrap up with this part of the presentation. So welcome. This is our Get Ready to Graduate presentation that we do. It's kind of a virtual advising session to help you get prepared for your upcoming graduation, whether you're graduating this summer or in the fall. We're going to talk about a few things that pertain to you as upcoming graduates. So we'll talk about filing your intent to graduate, completing the capstone in your field course, the virtual celebration, the in-person commencement, connecting with career services, licensure, getting your transcripts after you graduate, and early experiences, and what I was saying about our faculty member, her experience becoming a faculty member, and then ways to contact us. So for those of you who are graduating in the summer, you have already filed your intent to graduate. And if you haven't heard from us saying that you didn't submit it, you are good to go and you're ready to graduate. Pending your final completion of field, your performance in field, as long as you're passing, then you should be all done by August 16th. Final grades post on August 19th. And after that time, your degree will be conferred. If you are graduating in the fall, you can file your intent to graduate now, and you have until October 11th to submit that. You will submit it through your MyUCF portal. You're going to go into your student center, go to the other academic drop-down menu, click intent to graduate, apply. From there, you're going to get a screen that looks kind of like this. It's a poor screenshot, but bear with me, where your program will be listed, your Master of Social Work program. And then it's going to ask you a few questions about that. One of the questions is if this program is a thesis program. It's not. You're going to want to choose the non-thesis option. For your advisor, you have two, but you can write down my name because I think that that's probably what it says in the system right now. So just go ahead and write my name as your advisor. And be sure that you're checking fall 2024 in the box. If you choose summer 2024, it shouldn't exist right now, but sometimes that happens. There's some overlap. If you see anything other than fall, don't click it. Just click fall 2024. And then that is how your intent to graduate gets filed. If you have any questions about whether it's been submitted, you can feel free to reach out to us and we can check it on our end, but you can also check the status of it in MyUCF. I am going to pass it over to Minoska.
Hi. So you'll see soon that there's sort of like a capstone that you have to do. It's not really a capstone. It's more of an assessment to measure how effective this curriculum has been for you all. So it's really just a survey that'll help us determine that. It's required as part of like CSW accreditation. You have to do this before you graduate, but don't get nervous about whatever score you receive once it's finished. That won't deter you from graduation or anything like that. But you will be notified by field. If you have any questions, you would have to speak with your field instructor. But it's nothing to be really concerned about. It's just something that you have to get done before you graduate. Okay, so this next part is all about the graduation celebration that we host for you guys. So even if you're, even if you're an online program, you guys still get a graduation. And we do a virtual one for all of you. So it'll be via Zoom and it'll be with our online MSW faculty and staff to recognize everybody who's graduating with us. You are allowed to share the link with your family and friends so that they can attend as well. It's really cool because you get to see all of your professors together. The director of the program also shows up, and that's really nice. So it's really exciting. Definitely share with your family so that they can be a part of it. And we will have a student spotlight slide. So basically, we're going to go over that now, but it's to indicate what your name is, where you're from, some career goals. It's just an all about you presentation, right? So that's also really fun. And we encourage you guys to create one so that your family can see it and all of us. We want you to write a brief message to your family on there if you would like, a favorite quote, a photo of you and your family. That's optional. You don't have to put any pictures up, but it's just really a slide to make it more personal for you. And it'll be playing as part of the graduation celebration. So yeah, this is your chance to be creative. Once you're done, send the slide to Adriana. And these are just some examples. So something like this along these lines, you can do it however you want. And don't be concerned about posting any pictures of your family. This link will only be for people within our circle. So it won't go out to the school or anything like that. Only those who have access to the link that we create, the YouTube video link that we create, will be the only ones to see these photos. Okay, so feel free to post your pictures of your kids or any other family. Okay, so next, some information about commencement. So commencement for us, for our college, is August 3rd. That's on a Saturday at 2:30 p.m. It's in person. You don't have to go to this if you don't want to, but if you do, you will be required to buy or rent a cap and gown. The commencement ceremony lasts about 2 hours. There's only 5 tickets per graduates. Okay. So if you have kids and babies, they also count, even if they're just going to be sitting on your lap. So unfortunately, they are required to have a ticket as well. But it will be live streamed. So if people can't make it, they can watch it from, the comfort of their home. Or if you will be having family coming over, it will be live streamed on university property as well. So, they can watch it from anywhere here on campus. And then if you guys have plans afterward for lunch or dinner, you can all meet up together, or just walk around campus and take pictures and that sort of thing. The fall 2024 group, their commencement is scheduled for December. Okay, so December 13th and 14th, but for summer 2024, you guys will be Saturday, August 3rd.
And for those of you graduating this summer, you know that your classes don't actually end until August 16th because our schedule is funny, but you can absolutely participate in the commencement ceremony before your classes end. So if you have any questions about that, if you were concerned and you thought you couldn't, please feel free to reach out to us and we can help you with that.
And I think lastly for this part of commencement is the ticket pickup. So it's only available on campus from the 22nd to the 26th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can coordinate with the bookstore if you have some questions. You can also pick up your tickets the day of commencement. And I believe, Adriana, correct me if I'm wrong, but they may have extra tickets at the moment, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of a first come, first serve
Mhm.
situation before the ceremony begins. They may have extra tickets. I wouldn't count on those, although the August graduations are typically smaller. 5 tickets is probably what you're gonna get.
Yeah. And then if you can't pick it up during those dates that we have up here, you can always ask someone to pick them up for you. Or like I said, contact the bookstore and coordinate with them.
So a couple of things to think about, to have in your mind before you graduate. One of those is connecting with career services. So while you are a UCF student, you have access to a lot of resources through career services. You have some as an alum with us, but there are more if you're a current student. So I encourage you before you become alums to go connect with career services. Some of the great things that they can do is they can critique your resume. They have drop-in sessions where you can do it virtually with somebody from career services. You can, sort of shop out the way that you want your resume to look for certain positions. They also have help connecting you with practicing interview skills or questions that, you might never think of. Some interviews are bizarre and they have like weird off the wall questions. And so they have a really good way of helping you prepare for stuff like that, as well as traditional interview questions. And they also have networking events. So it's good to get connected ahead of time so you know what's available right now, but also what you can utilize after you graduate. licensure is something that you might be interested in. And we will talk a bit more about that when we have our field faculty speak. But just so you know, if you want to find out what the licensure requirements are for your state, if you haven't looked those up yet, you can start with a Google search with the name of your state and LCSW afterwards, or you can go directly to these links that we have here that will help you find licensure information for your state. They're not always called LCSWs in every state. They have some sort of variation on that. So depending on what you're looking for, look for the board in your state that licenses social workers, and you'll find the information you need there. We can also help. Feel free to reach out to us if you are having trouble locating information, and we can sort of point you in the right direction. One of the things that you might be interested in doing after you graduate is requesting your transcripts to be sent to either an employer or to or for licensure, because that'll be a requirement towards applying for licensure. You'll also do this through your MyUCF portal. You'll click on Transcript Request Official in the Other Academic drop-down menu. The most important takeaway here is select the option Hold for Degree before you submit your transcript request. Otherwise, it will send an in-progress transcript, and that means it will not have your final grades and it will not have your degree conferral listed. So if you're getting a job or you're applying for licensure, they want to see that final transcript that shows that you earned your MSW degree. So click on that Hold for Degree option. If you need a letter, if your state requires a letter verifying your degree or verifying your practicum hours, verifying that you are an advanced standing student, anything along those lines, you'll want to use this link to submit a request to us. We will send the link in a separate email, so don't worry about copying it now or trying to write it down. We'll make sure that you have access to that. But it takes us about 1 to 2 weeks to get those letters out, depending on when you send them. If you are wanting to get your ducks in a row right now, feel free to send that link now, because you know you're going to apply for licensure in your state, but I won't be able to send those letters out until the degree is conferred. So just keep that in mind. You can send your request now, but I won't be submitting them until after grades are, or after the degree is conferred. This is something that we'll ask in that request, your name, how you want it to appear on your licensure letters, but also if you have a different name than when you were at UCF, your preferred pronouns, contact information, so we can reach out to you if there's anything that we need more information about, what track you were on, and when your graduation was. Something that we have to include in most letters is the place where you completed your clinical placement. Please be sure to indicate the city and state as well. And the state that you're applying for licensure is most important. If you have the information about where it should be emailed or sent physically, please include that as well. And now I am going to let our field faculty, Jill Davis, speak. Some of you may know her, have experience with her, but she's going to give us a little bit of background about how she became a social worker. And then we're going to open it up to you guys to ask any questions that you might have. So right now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we can let Jill chat.
Great, thanks, Adriana. Hey, everybody. Let's see. So I became a social worker because I wanted to be a play therapist. So that was my original interest in getting my MSW degree. And I am a proud MSW graduate from UCF, class of '99. So it's been a while. If you're ever on campus, and you can come find the pictures of all the graduating classes for the campus-based programs of old, you can find me up there. So anyway, when I graduated and I was working as a play therapist, what I didn't realize is how many other opportunities there were as an MSW. And then once I became an LCSW as well. So I ended up in my career, obviously, I've also become a faculty member. I started as a faculty member as an adjunct just a couple of years after I graduated. I was teaching a BSW class at UCF. Then later they invited me to be a visiting instructor. That was a full-time position because they had a faculty member who left unexpectedly right before a semester was starting, and it just kind of built from there. So that now, obviously my full-time work is as a faculty member, and I do sometimes I do private practice type of work on the side, as well as being a qualified supervisor. So similar to the way that you all have a social work supervisor at your field placements, once you've graduated and you're working towards licensure, here in Florida, we call them qualified supervisors. It may be a different term in other states, but that's the person who provides the supervision for your work experience while you're becoming licensed. So that's been really enjoyable and fulfilling to do that as well. I've also gotten to do lots of trainings. I never really thought about that, as a student or even when I first graduated, but with my interest in play therapy, I ended up being invited to go to other local organizations and train their staff on play therapy. And then I was applying to present at those kind of workshops at NESW events and play therapy conferences and things like that as well. I was also an officer of the local play therapy organization. That was really fun to do as well. So I encourage you all to, even though right now you might just be thinking about the getting licensed and the clinical work that you want to do, to realize that there's lots of other opportunities out there for you all as well. I guess another thing that I did was I've been an item writer for the ASWB clinical exam. So part of getting licensed, certainly here in Florida, and I think every state requires an exam of some sort as part of the licensure process. All 50 states and Puerto Rico, parts of Canada now use an ASWB exam in order, for that licensure process. And there are different levels of the exam that different states require different parts of it. And I went to ASWB and got trained in their process and have questions that were part of the data bank for the clinical exam. So certainly I'd be happy to answer questions about licensure process, about the exams, play therapy, anything else, becoming a faculty member. Love to hear if you guys have any questions that you have for us.
Yes, please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask any questions that you might have, or use the chat for that.
Excellent. Okay, so I see a question. You've always been interested in learning more about play therapy, so you can work with even younger kids. Yeah, and definitely with older kids as well. So Jenny, I have found sometimes even my work with adult clients, if they're open to using some play techniques, it's been a great way to get them kind of out of their intellectualization, right? They can talk about it without really connecting with their feelings sometimes. So there are different certifications for play therapy. There are, when it comes to licensure, each state is, the license is an official state certification, if you will, right? But when it comes to other types of certifications, whether it be trauma-focused CBT, play therapy, and being an addictions counselor, etc., those certifications are done through professional organizations. And so sometimes there are competing certifications in the same type of specialty, right? So like in play therapy, One organization is the Association for Play Therapy. Their website is, and I can put it down here in the chat, and then the number 4 pt.org, a4pt.org. That's the Association for Play Therapy, is the organization that I had my certification through as a registered play therapist, RPT. They also have the next credential, the RPTS, which is the Registered Play Therapist Supervisor credential. That one, I believe, is the most widely recognized credential in play therapy. However, there are certifications by other organizations, like I think it's called the International Play Therapy Organization, IPT, offers one as well. But definitely, Jenny, I encourage you to check out the APT website. Are you in, where are you located, Jenny? Are you here in Florida, and specifically, even Central Florida, or what part of the country are you in?
I'm in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, definitely there's the Association for Play Therapy is the national organization.
Okay.
Then there are state branches, and then there are local chapters as well. Similar in the way that National Association for Social Work, right? We've got the national organization, we've got state chapters, and then we have local chapters and meetings as well. Same thing with play therapy. So if you go to the Association for Play Therapy website, you should be able to find a link to the Florida chapter. And then from the Florida chapter, you should be able to find the link to the local chapter and find out what kind of meetings and events they're having as well.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can tell you that the national conference that not only, well, this is true not only just for Association for Play Therapy, but for NASW, for other, like if you're a school social worker as well. There's also credentials specialized in school social work, right? And so for all of you, if there's a particular area of interest, just Google like professional organization, oncology social work, or whatever your area of interest is, see what comes up. If you go to those, the conferences, the annual conferences, oftentimes you can actually volunteer to help the conference organizers with the registration table or with the different breakout rooms, etc., in exchange for the registration fees. So that's a great way when you're a new grad and don't have a lot of money to pay for conferences and things to still get to go to some of those trainings. And you're going to need some of those specific training hours in your area of interest to get the certifications as well.
And if you are on our Facebook group, even as an alum, we will share any opportunities that we hear about for that. We'll share it there. So keep an eye out. And if you're a current student and there's any opportunities, we'll share it through the advising portal as well.
I had it where sometimes they didn't even offer it, and I would email them and ask, and they would say, oh, okay, and so this is where, you've spent all this time working to advocate for your clients at your agencies and in your internships. Don't forget to advocate for yourselves as well. There's, you can create opportunities for yourself sometimes. All you have to do is ask.
I've got a question. It's relating to licensure. So, hi, my name is Gracia. I'm physically located in Mississippi.
Okay.
Oh, geez. I guess I should say I'm in a military family. So my husband has to move every couple years because the military sends us. I'm still considered a Florida resident, and my current field placement, they tend to offer employment afterwards. They have an office in Florida, and I have the big question of where do I get licensed? Do I get licensed in the state that I physically reside in, or I've heard some people say get licensed in the harder state, like harder requirement state versus the others. And so my question is, in the state of Florida, Is it possible to become a registered intern and only work remotely should I get hired at a remote, like teletherapy place? Or is that not really possible?
My understanding is currently that that you can do that, where you can provide remote therapy. However, the issue would be whether or not you can provide remote therapy like from outside of the state, right? Where you're located does make a difference, even if the therapy is remote. And where your clients are located. So that piece, I would have to do a little bit of research, and I'd be happy to try to help you with that. I also want to say that as a member of a service family, and thank you all for your service, because you are serving and sacrificing as well as your spouse. But anyway, there are, most states have additional I don't want to, ways to support our military families. So they sometimes will waive application fees, or they recognize that you all sometimes have to move suddenly and often. And so there's additional measures that they take to support you in that process as well. Now, the part about getting licensed, like in the harder state, right? I mean, because that certainly is something where once you're licensed in one state, you can then apply to be licensed in other states and hopefully not have to go through every step of the process, right? So it does make sense to kind of research the different states and see what their requirements are. So for example, here in Florida, when you become a registered clinical social worker intern, you do not have to take an ASWB exam at that point, right? Once you graduate and you have your you've got the qualified supervisor, you can get your license number essentially as a registered clinical social worker intern. Then you have to have your supervised work experience for at least 2 years, and take and pass the ASWB clinical exam. We've got, and I don't know what the requirements are in Mississippi, but so then Georgia, I am familiar with. Let's use them as an example. In Georgia, once you graduate, and to get that initial license in Georgia, they don't call it a registered clinical social worker intern. They call it a licensed MSW, right? Master of Social Work. To get that MSW and then start, doing the supervised work experience to get the LCSW, they have to take one of the ASWB exams. I believe it's the advanced generalist exam. But at graduation, they have to take the exam to get the LMSW. Then they do their 2 years of supervised work experience, similar to what you do here in Florida. And then they have to also take the clinical exam to become the LCSW, right? So there's, like, in some states, you have to take 2 exams. Other states like Florida, you only take 1. So you're going to want to look at some things like that, especially because every exam you take is also going to be more money, right? I think right now it costs $260 to take the clinical ASWB exam. So that's definitely something to take into account.
Some states I know will also let you take their first exam that they require when you're in your last semester of the program. So if you're in one of those states, they might have a requirement that you need a letter confirming that you're in your final semester. Feel free to reach out to us and we can help you with that as well.
Yeah, some of the other states, okay, you don't even have to wait till you graduate, till you can get started on the process. That's excellent. Yeah. So I encourage you, why don't you please reach out to me and we can talk some more in depth offline. about kind of what it is in Mississippi, and maybe, you know, and kind of help you figure out whether or not it would work to be in Mississippi working for a Florida company, you know, and that kind of thing with your licensure. We can, I'd be happy to help you investigate that a little bit more.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I've been kind of thinking about this within the last month, like, oh, geez, I'm scared of graduating because, well, don't know where to start when it comes to licensure. Because I'm okay with picking a state, but it's the hard part is picking a state.
Right.
I'll reach out. Thank you.
You bet. Did I answer some of the other questions in there too? Or if anybody has sort of spin-off questions from some of that, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Jill. I didn't know a lot about that, about you and play therapy. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing. I am just going to share 2 more slides and then we can wrap up and you can ask any questions you might have. Let's see. So you may be familiar with your success coach, but in case you're not, this is Barbara Bush. Even though you're graduating soon, she can still help you. If you need somebody to be your cheerleader as you embrace these final things that you have to do to graduate, Barbara's a great person to help with that. She can also help you navigate what's offered through career services and through the other departments on campus. So if you haven't touched base with her, or if you've seen an email from her, but you haven't had a conversation, now is a good time to reach out to her and see what she might be able to offer you as you finish up the program. And then finally, Minoska and I are here to assist in anything that we can. We might not have all the answers, but we are happy to point you in the right direction and get you that information. We're pretty good at Google, so we're good at finding those licensure requirements and helping connect you with the right individuals, the right boards that you need to get that information from. So that's all we have today. I will be sure to send you this recording along with a copy of the PowerPoint and the links that Jill has shared with us. And she's sharing right now in the chat. So if you want to, be sure to check that out, but I'll also send that in an email. And now we'll just kind of hang out. Jill, you are excused. Thank you so much for being here. But if you have any questions for Minoska and I, please feel free to unmute or chat, and we will be here a few more minutes to answer anything you have.
I had a quick question that may be related or unrelated to social work. I don't know. But
Sure.
so I had a question about, being an MSW and, once we graduate, what should be our expectations for like salary? Because I know getting my MSW, it wasn't only just for, further options in social work, but it was to try to break that, I think, 40K range, because I found myself only being able to be in that salary range with my bachelor's. So, when I get out there in the world and with my MSW, what should be my expectations for salary? Should I negotiate? I have some classmates telling me like, you might have to compromise. You may end up still earning 40K. So I don't know.
Where are you located?
I am in Ocala, Marion County.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is dependent on where you live. That's a part of it. I think there's probably this idea that people have about social workers, like, please don't expect to make any money as a social worker. That the idea is that you're in it for other reasons, but everybody needs to live, right? So salary is important. And that is something that career services is really good at helping. They can help you figure out what is sort of average for your area, and what could you be considering in certain areas. If you're going to work in a clinical social work position, should you be making more there than if you're working in a different kind of population? My advice to everyone, though, is always, there's no harm in asking for more. If they are some place that's going to say, oh my gosh, why are you asking for more money? Like, that's probably not a place that you want to work. Or they might be upfront right away and tell you that, listen, this is the only money we have to offer. This is the only option we have for you. If this is a place you want to work, this is all we have. And you'll have to weigh the choices there. I would say that your expectation to break above 40 is reasonable after you get your licensure. I think MSW positions exist for lower than that, unfortunately, but at the LCSW level, you'll probably get to expect more. The other thing is, like I was saying about the different populations, some people go into private practice, and that seems to do very well for them. So it's not something that you have to do full time. Like Jill was saying, she's an instructor, but she also does private practice on the side. We have one of our previous advisors, she left and she became an LMHC. And she now does private practice, but she's also an adjunct instructor. So there's a way to sort of balance what you want to do with what you need to do to make money. And so you might be able to find a balance in that way. But I would definitely suggest going to career services and being like, hey, how do I navigate this process of being a graduate and wanting to get a fair salary, a livable salary? And they have some good resources for that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Hi there, I have a question.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. So I've got a couple different answers in regards to this question. I'm just trying to kind of grasp a clearer understanding. So what are some of the specific differences between someone who would have their license versus somebody who has their DSW?
That's a good question. I have a little bit of information about that. Maybe I should have had Jill stay. I was going to say, we don't have a DSW program here, so I'm not as familiar with what it means to go pursue the DSW. But as I understand it, if you go into a PhD, that's more of a research based. And if you go into the DSW, that's more of a, you're looking to do clinical work with, not necessarily in private practice, but that's for somebody who wants to maybe work in upper level management with social workers or with social work organizations, that kind of thing. But the LCSW is going to allow you to do clinical practice. So clinical practice means practice with families, with groups. If you wanted to provide counseling, if you wanted to open up your own practice to see clients, that kind of stuff. The DSW and the PhD are better suited for somebody who's looking to go into academia or going to work in like a behavioral health center and wants to do research or studies and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the difference. DSW, PhD, academia, LCSW, direct practice with individuals and families and groups.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And you kind of answered my next question. So I don't mean to put you on the spot, but there's a little bit of gossip about UCF starting a DSW program. Is there nothing set in stone about that?
Nothing yet. We honestly have been waiting, and like at every faculty meeting, we're all just so eager to hear that it's moving forward. We have a team in the School of Social Work that has drafted proposals. We sort of have everything ready to go once it's approved. It's just in this approval process, and we're kind of waiting. That it has to go through the Board of Governors, the Board of Trustees, the higher level state stuff. But we really hope to offer a DSW and a PhD program, and maybe looking at a fall 25 potential start. But as soon as we get information, we will contact all our alums and any current students to let them know about starting this program. But it's definitely something that we are actively working on.
Ooh, that's awesome. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
I did have a question, just in regards to obtaining our transcript. So I graduate this summer.
Okay.
For my job, for the pay rate increase.
Sure.
How long will it take? I know you went over the slide about how to go and put that in that we want to request it, but how long will it take for me to receive the official transcript?
So how long? Sorry, can you repeat? It cut out for me. That last.
I'm sorry.
Piece.
I was just asking, how long will it take once we put in the request that we want our official transcript for us to receive it?
Sure. So the grades post on August 19th. Typically, it takes a couple of weeks for graduate studies and our college to confer the degree. So I'm going to say transcripts will probably be available with the conferred degree on it by early September. I don't have an exact date. I don't know, Minoska, you haven't heard an exact date yet. Usually we'll get one, but we haven't gotten it yet. So if your grades post on the 19th, it will take a couple days to get it over to the powers that be. I'm going to say by Labor Day, transcripts should be available. But we will update you along the way for whatever we hear. As soon as the degree is conferred, it sort of triggers the transcript system to release the transcripts that were requested with the hold for degree option. If you selected an electronic one, it should only take a couple of days after that, maybe even within a day, to get those sent out. And if you requested a physical copy to be sent, that'll take a few more days to deliver. Basically, we don't have an answer for the exact date, but as soon as we get one, we'll let you know.
Okay. And then are we able to request like unofficial transcripts?
There's not an unofficial transcript
okay.
request that you can submit. However, if you go through My UCF, you're able to pull your graduate plan of study, which lists all the classes you've taken, all the grades you've gotten. You can also pull a list of just your grades by semester if you wanted to do that and provide that. But there's not a way to get an unofficial copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And if you need a letter for your employer or anything like that, before the transcripts can be sent out, as soon as we see that degree conferral come through, I can write you a letter, or our director can write you a letter to say, hey, she got her MSW, everything is good. It'll take a few days before the transcript is sent.
Okay, and then in that case, I would just send you an email.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, just send us an email. All right, well, if nobody has any more questions, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, and